Namaskar and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaunkar. The agenda for today's discussion is connected to economy, where we are going to discuss about INR, the Indian rupee. We are going to raise a question: should Indian currency INR become a hard currency at global level? The answer to that question is already in the news. According to GTRI, Global Trade Research Institute, conditions are not ripe as of now to make INR a hard currency. In this video lecture, we are going to understand the news comprehensively. First, we'll understand what is the meaning of a hard currency. What are the hard currencies currently in global economy? Then we'll raise a question: should India or Indian currency, rupee, become a hard currency? We'll analyze the issue completely. That is going to be the total agenda of today's discussion. To get to know all the answers, stay with me till the very end. All right, let's begin. But before that, there is a notice to all the UPSC civil services aspirants. StudyIQ's P2I program, Prelims to Interview Initiative. Its batch 4 is beginning from 24th November, the English batch. From 23rd, the Hindi batch. The classes will be at 8 a.m. This is the most comprehensive program for UPSC civil services preparation, where you have 3 formats. The classes are available in Hindi, in English, and in a bilingual format, English as well. Please remember, why should you choose P2I program? Because this is a complete package. There is one-to-one mentorship for you. There is group mentorship for you. There is prelims test series included. There is mains residential program included in this program. And the comprehensive package is at a very, very affordable price. Just use the code Rahul Live to get maximum discount. Visit our website, studyiq.com. Enroll now. I'll see you in the class. All right? Right. Let's begin our discussion of the Indian rupee as a hard currency. First things first, we need to understand what is the meaning of this hard currency. What is the definition of hard currency? Hard currency is any currency that people trust. People have faith in that currency. Why? Because that currency would be stable. There would be no large scale fluctuations or volatility with that currency. Simply put, hard currency is one which I would like to have with me whenever I'm traveling abroad or whenever I am indulged in, say, international business. Meaning, a currency which relatively remains stable or even appreciate against other softer currencies. So a hard currency, it does not suffer from the volatility or sudden changes in their valuation. And that is why these are the currencies in which investors put their confidence, the tourists put their confidence, the traders put their confidence. And a hard currency is something which is relatively stable and completely convertible. Current account convertibility and capital account convertibility, both would be available with the hard currency. Now, if you ask, sir, I understood what is hard currency. Can you give me certain examples? The biggest hard currency is US dollar. There is also euro, British pound sterling, and Japanese yen. Now, you ask a question. So you said you gave definition of hard currency and you said it appreciates against softer currency. So what is the definition of this soft currency? Just everything opposite of hard currency would make it soft currency. Meaning a soft currency is one in which people do not trust and it goes through a lot of volatility. Sir, can you give me an example? I would say on the back of my mind, say the Venezuelan currency would be a classic soft currency as of now. If you ask, sir, what about India? Is Indian rupee soft currency or hard currency? I would say we are somewhere in the middle as of now. Now, if you look at the global transactions, the biggest chunk of hard currency is still US dollar. More than 60% of global transactions, they occur through US dollar. The second biggest currency would be euro, and it is relatively new as well. From the time of beginning of European Union, euro has become the currency of the Eurozone, and their acceptability is also quite high, especially in the European continent and the neighboring region. The other hard currencies are British pound sterling, Japanese yen, and some other currencies. Now, many people have a misconception that, sir, Chinese yuan can be considered as hard currency. Many people say yes, right? But I would say both Indian rupee and Chinese yuan, they are not considered as hard currencies as of now, right? Hard currency is something which needs to be stable. Yes, we do observe a trend. There is a slight push from these countries. I would say the biggest countries in terms of population, both India and China, they are trying to internationalize their currency. But even today, the largest chunk is US dollar itself. But there is a trend, as I told you, in a decade or so, if you observe these currencies closely, the popularity of US dollar is going down. The popularity of British pound sterling is also going down. Now, British pound sterling, I can give you a reason for that, especially since Brexit and since a lot of political issues in UK. We see that the acceptability of British pound sterling is slowly and steadily going down. But still, more than 60% of transaction takes place in terms of US dollar, but their acceptability is also, I would say, declining. It's not a progress report, but rather a declining report for US dollars acceptability. Now, in light of this, we are raising a question. Today's big question is this: sir, is Indian rupee ready to become hard currency? We need to understand why are we raising this question first at all. One reason is, sir, you said about dollar. You said dollar is declining. So can we rely on dollar for long term? There are already trends at the global level. People are, I would say, fatigued with the dollar. Why? Because US has a huge domination there, and US seldom thinks about other players. And that is why many economic experts, they will highlight you that in the last few years, especially since the times of COVID-19, United States, it's not thinking about other economies. Yes, they want to tackle their inflation rate, they want to tackle the problems inside their country, and for that, their economic policies, their monetary policies, they have not taken others' perception into consideration. Why? Because for a hard currency, the acceptability and the perception matters at the international level. And that's why many economic experts have highlighted that US is actually exporting inflation to other countries. Now you are thinking, sir, how? Let me give you a simple example. Now imagine United States of America, it decides, or the US Fed Reserve, it decides to print more and more amount of dollars. You know, already US has heavy debt, okay? So imagine that tomorrow US decides to simply print dollar. What is going to be the impact of printing dollar on entire world? Entire world is going to see inflation, isn't it? Why? Because the money supply or the dollar supply has increased. I hope you do get the idea. And these are some of the reasons. We saw this thing in 2008, right? Printing of money. Later on, the reasons for Eurozone crisis also can be attributed towards large amount of influx of dollar. Now, this is a potential problem, right? So, can we rely on dollar completely? The answer would be a big no. Apart from that, the geopolitics and United States foreign policy, to a large extent, that also has a big role in terms of dollar as a hard currency. We have seen that US relations with some countries, say with China or say Russia, they have been quite tumultuous in recent times. US has imposed heavy sanctions on Russia. Now what happens because of this? Relations of Russia with other country, and India is one of the biggest partner, I would say, trade partner with Russia, especially there are defense deals right now. Energy deals are also enhancing a lot. So if we are unable to trade in dollar, then how would the trade run? That is another question. So we have huge issues. Apart from that, as I told you, the Fed Reserve, right? The Fed Reserve has seen this problem, or whatever Fed Reserve decides. We have seen that during the times of inflation, US tries to maintain their inflation level at a very, very low level. Right now, I would say the inflation rate in US is more than 3%. So the Fed Reserve had increased the interest rates, and the problems were seen elsewhere as well. In fact, in more than 20 years, the Japanese had to intervene because of the meddling, or because of the monetary policy of United States of America. Their dollar was continuously appreciating in comparison to other currencies. If you look at the currency values in the last year or so, you will see that the dollar has appreciated immensely in comparison to India's rupee or Japanese yen. And this creates a problem for foreign trade for other countries. It may not create huge problems for US citizens. Say, for example, if US dollar is appreciating, then a US traveler or citizen coming to some other place, they will have plenty of money, right? Because of the higher exchange rate, because of higher exchange value, because of appreciation. But the same is not true for the other country, because they would like to have better trade. And Japanese intervened after almost 20 years to devalue their own currency, right? Quite interesting. So can we rely on the dollar? The answer would be no. So we are looking for alternatives. And India is one attractive point at the global level. Indian economy is emerging. India is a huge market. So Indian rupee and its acceptability is something which is inevitable. You need to understand that internationalization of Indian rupee is something which is inevitable. Even RBI highlights that, SBI reports have highlighted that, SBI's EcoRap has highlighted that rupee internationalization is something which is inevitable. It is going to happen. But there are some issues which we might face. The question is, sir, how can a currency become hard currency? What does it depend on? The journey from soft currency to hard currency, it is rather a complex one. It's not very easy. It is depending on multiple factors, and the biggest factors are connected with economic stability itself. You do understand that if something or some currency has to become hard currency, people need to accept it, people need to appreciate it, people need to trust in that currency. And for that, the home country's economy, first of all, it must be stable. They must have very low and stable inflation. Now you will see that US dollar is accepted because historically their inflation rates have been quite low, 1%, 2%. Right now, because of COVID-19, they have increased. Right now, I would say a little more than 3% would be the inflation rate in USA, but they have kept low and stable inflation for a very long time. Consistent growth is one of the factors. Yes, they need to have a good and balanced trade. Apart from that, the host country, they must have strong fiscal and monetary measures. Apart from that, of course, wide acceptability. Now, wide acceptability comes from multiple factors. Say, for instance, it also has a bearing on other factors. I would say overall stability, or I would say political factors. The country must have stable governments. There must be peaceful transition of power from one government to another government. There must be complete convertibility, capital account convertibility, and BOP crisis should not be there. Balance of payment crisis must not be there, right? Apart from that, as I told you, wide acceptability, it comes on the soft power factors as well. That means the attractiveness of the country. And that is where the question comes up. Sir, Chinese yuan, it is gaining a lot of popularity, yes, but even today I wouldn't call it a hard currency per se. Why? Because there is issue of perception, there is issue of acceptability. The government, the working of the government of the Chinese is quite opaque. So many experts, especially from USA, they criticize that China is currency manipulator, and because of that, that wide acceptability is not seen largely. So if these factors are satisfied, then the journey from soft currency to hard currency would be rather easier. Now, apart from that, when a country or when country's currency moves from soft to hard, you understand there are other complications as well. Why? Because you are now opening up yourself to the entire world. That means there might be cash inflows, cash outflows from the country that should not cause volatility in your economy. Those are also the factors. So the process is quite complex, and that is why the GTRI, Global Trade Research Institute, currently says the time is not ripe to make INR hard currency. What do they suggest? They suggest that first, India should become a middle income country, and then try to push rupee as a hard currency. Does this mean we should not do anything? We should simply rely on dollar or some other hard currencies? No, the answer is no. What is the suggestion is, till that time, India must promote settlement of the global trade in local currency, in local currencies for that matter. I would say if you have bilateral trade with some other country, why trade in dollar with them? Let's trade in local currency with them. Now you are thinking, sir, what kind of a suggestion is this? Because we already do this. I have read in the news that there are rupee payments, there are ruble payments with the Russians, right? That is what we know in the news, that RBI has allowed for internationalization or international settlement with many countries. Last year itself, in 2022, the RBI came up with notification. This year, the government categorically mentioned that RBI has allowed banks from 18 countries to trade in rupee with whoever we have good trade relations. All right. So you're thinking, sir, what is the meaning of this? Trade in local currency. What is GTRI telling me? Now let's try to understand that. Okay? Right now. See, this is the template of our trade with Russians. Now you do understand, with Russia, we trade in rupee, right? That means we have a Vostro account in Russian bank. They have a Vostro account in Indian bank. Now these Vostro accounts are special accounts in which settlement can happen in local currency. That's the basic idea. That is the basic knowledge that you need. Meaning, Indian account in a Russian bank where we are going to settle in their currency, and a Vostro account, Russian account in Indian banks where they are going to settle in rupees, because we have trade. For example, say India is going to export something to Russians. So what the Russians will do, they will give ruble to me in my account with Russian bank. So I accept the ruble. Okay, so I have ruble, means India has Russian ruble in their account. Russians have Indian rupee in their account in Indian banks. So when I import something, say imagine I import crude oil. So what do I do? What do I do? I say I pay through INR because I have this money here. So what is happening is I am simply trading in my own currencies. So you are thinking that this is already happening. So what is the meaning of trading in local currency? Now let's imagine another example. Let's imagine another example. I simply clear Russia from here and I say put an African country, or say South Africa. Okay, let's put South Africa here. Okay, South Africa. The question is, do I have South African rand in that much of quantity to trade? Do South Africa have that rupee with them? Now you do understand, for rupee rand conversion also I have to go through dollar only, right? That means for the initial transaction to begin, we have to trade through dollar only. From dollar, these conversions will happen. Now when I trade through dollar, I will be missing out on a value of approximately 3 to 4% of transaction for converting itself. That is a loss for both the countries, isn't it? That is the meaning of trading in local currency, meaning set up our own exchange counters, wherein if there is any company from Russia who wants Indian rupee, give ruble to me directly, I will give you Indian rupees directly at a fair market value or a fair exchange rate. That is the basic idea. Now what is the meaning of this trade in local currency? Means simply bypass the dollar completely. Right now this is tough. Now as you already know, RBI allowed internationalization last year itself, but with how many countries or how much volume of trade is occurring through these local currencies, that would be still a lower amount itself. So how can we completely transform this? Till the time we become a hard currency, probably say after a decade or so, after we enter the mid economy or mid income range, till that time we need to set up our own fair exchanges where these currency swaps can occur, currency exchanges can occur, so that we have appropriate currencies, we have their appropriate currencies with us, their appropriate value, they have our value, and so that trade can go on. That is the meaning of trade in local currencies. Now with Russia, there is not a very big problem, but with other countries we need to come up with these fair exchanges, right? That's the idea. If not India as a hard currency, then we might also explore another idea, and it is this. Okay, virus notification. All right, so if not that, we might go for another kind of idea. That's the BRICS currency. I would say BRICS plus currency. Right now it's not just these 5 countries, but many others have become members of BRICS plus. So from BRICS plus, there can be an exploration of a currency which might be accepted by these countries, and that will challenge the dollar hegemony for sure. Overall, whatever is going to happen in future, you do understand internationalization of Indian rupee is something which is inevitable. If not Indian rupee, probably an alternative to dollar might come up very, very soon. We do need that. That's the ultimate conclusion from today's discussion. Now, if you're thinking, sir, how do I use this information? What kind of questions can be anticipated? A simple kind of question. Do you think INR, Indian rupee, should become a hard currency? Critically analyze or critically examine this statement. Or what are the requirements for a currency to become hard currency? And how tough is going to be the journey for India to become a hard currency, right? For all these questions, I hope you have gotten good fodder to attempt the questions. All right, that's it from this particular discussion. Thank you for watching this. I hope it was fruitful and informative for you. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you again. Jai Hind.